If you have been collecting or know anything about the industry, this man is a legend in itself. And you probably have at least one or two things that he's probably had a hand in over the years. David, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. My wife is a
Yeah,
little under the weather, so I was running a little bit late, but nothing corona virus related. She's just feeling a little nauseous, So
good, good. That's a good thing. There's no corona issues. You're nice and healthy. Everything's well with you.
yep.
Yeah.
I'm feeling fine. Feeling
How's
fine.
how's the weather? You're in Cali, right?
Yep. I'm in Cali and Long Beach, and it's pretty cool here. Pretty chill. The weather's really good. Like 70 degrees here. It's really nice, sunny and everything. But I
Okay.
mean, everyone here is really chill. Like they're obeying you know,
Social
the, ru-
distancing.
yeah, the social distancing, but also the rules from the governor. Like no one's really on the beach here. I live right across the street from the beach,
Okay.
so it's like the beach is basically empty and everything. And so everyone is we this is a unique situation for most people. A lot of people have been in situations, not always at once, but some people have been in similar situations, like certain hardships. So, but everyone is adjusting well. We're all in the same boat together. So this really takes a lot of patience, and just we wait it out,
Yeah.
and that's really it. But patience is really the key to kind of make it out of this whole thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I got two little ones, and God bless them being home with them, being able to spend time with them. At the same time, it gets a little hectic, you know.
Yeah,
But
the way that our culture has been set up, with wake up, go to work, kids go to school, come home in the afternoon or the evenings, prepare for dinner, go to bed. Like, our whole routine has been shaken up,
hmm
so now we get to see. I mean, we all get to see not only how each other's day is, like we get to actually see how hard, our kids kind of have it, and they're
yeah,
inundated throughout their day too. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
we got to adjust with that. But also too, I think that with this, especially with education, I hope that some good really come out of this. Kids aren't being bullied as much because they're
hmm
home. There has
hmm
been any school shootings going on, so and also too, just with our school system, the American school system is kind of set up in the 18th, 19th century kind of way,
hmm
and we're way beyond that, so it's,
Yeah,
it's kind of cool to see us utilizing this technology to for kids to actually further their education. Like this is the push for now to make the playing field even for all kids to be uh to be granted,
the same
the
opportunities.
laptops, the same opportunity, the same technological opportunities as everyone else. So like this had to be, this is something that progressive people have been fighting for, and this has been the boost that made it happen.
hmm
Unfortunately, it took something of this magnitude for things to kind of happen, but it's happening, and hopefully it keeps on going. And this is kind of thrusting us into a new future.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you with that. As I said, I have two, and one of my daughters, she's in first grade, so I joked around about saying, "Am I smarter than a first grader right now?" Because sometimes we're doing all the work, and I'm like, "Wow, this is first grade work. Let me make sure she's doing it right," and it's interesting to just sit there and, like you said, they're so used to a routine.
Hmm.
So as we're used to a routine with our daily lives, as adults, we kind of forget that the children also have their own routines, especially when they're in school. And
Right.
so we're a little lax. I'm gonna admit it. Now that she's home, me and my wife, we might sleep a little bit later than we intend to sometimes, and be like,
Hmm.
all right,
Hmm.
like, we don't got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning as long as everything's done. So a couple
Right.
times I've caught my daughter being like, "Hey, come on, like it's time," and we're like, "Nah, just chill, just relax a little bit." But we stay on her, we get the work done, and
Right.
it was like last week was interesting. I was sitting, well, I was making breakfast. She's sitting in the kitchen, and I'm making breakfast, and she's all dressed up on her Zoom. She's got her Zoom meeting going on with her teacher in her class, and she's presenting a book report that she had to put together. And
Yeah,
I'm like looking at her like, wow, she's such a little lady, but
yeah,
like that's my kid, and
yeah,
you know, and it's at a point, it's like it's sad the world that we're living in right now that they have to do that, but at the same time, like you said, it's a good thing, and I think it evens the playing field on a lot of
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, you
And
get to see the preparation right there. Like you
yeah,
actually get to see the development of her, like being patient. Utilizing the technology. She did the R&D. She did the
hmm
research and development on the
hmm
project. She presented it. Actually, what she did is no different than what we're all doing working from home. You know what I
correct.
mean? So this is kind of like putting those practices into play for
hmm
kids to be like, this is the new system, this is the new factory, this is our new factory. Like back in the day, kids had to learn how to sew and do home
hmm
ec, learn how to, fix automobiles, and they learned that by watching their parents, hanging around in the kitchen, hanging out in the backyard and everything, picking up those skills. Now our kids are picking up these new skills in this new era for us to be able to survive and maintain. And you're actually seeing it. Like, man,
Yeah,
this is your dollars at work. This
yeah,
is your tax
yeah.
dollars at work. And this is kind of what we fought for. This is actually one of the things that, I mean, not to get too deep and political, but this is one of the
No,
things that Martin Luther King fought for. This is one of the things he
yeah,
said. This is one of the things that bridges not only the kids together, but us as adults together as well, as a unified front to make sure that they're educated the right way. You
because
know,
they are the future. They are the future.
yeah, they're the future, and the best way to teach them is to utilize the future tech that we have.
hmm
You know what I mean? In this day and age, like and unfortunately, on evolution, this is what evolution feels like.
hmm
We've read about it in books and history books. We've heard about it from our parents and grandparents, but this is what it feels like. We're going through not just a racial change or economic change we're going through a worldwide global change, and this is what it
hmm
feels like. And a lot of people are not ready for it.
Everybody's going through it.
Everybody's going through it. You know what I mean? We all have to think differently, so it's cool. Like what we're doing right now, this is not only bridging the gap between, the the consumer and the business, but this is like this is bridging the fanhood. This is how the future is going to look as far as operation and dealing with the business to consumer practices and everything. Like this is the future.
Yeah, yeah.
So like this is while we're here, we gotta be able to make sure that we, with great power comes great responsibility. Like we gotta
Of
make
course. Yeah.
sure that we use it the right way. And that's the thing that I hope that we all kind of take away from this. Unfortunately, everyone wants to take whatever they want selfishly out of this, but I hope that we really utilize the technology the right way. We know how rampant and wrong it can be, but this
hmm
is a perfect example, man. Like of your kids being taught and us doing this, reaching out to the fans. Like this is the positive, and this is I hope a foundation of what's to come.
Yeah, and like you said, reach out to the fans and everything. That's why I reached out to you. I've always admired your work. Like I said, starting
Thank
off,
you.
like I got more than a few things that I know you've had your hand in. But same thing with like Four Horsemen and a lot of the companies. I've grown to know people over the years, and at the conventions it's different because you're there, you're in the mix of things, and people are seeing the products and stuff like that. um, the whole point of what I'm trying to do right now is to show everybody's in this together. Everybody's
Mhm.
trying to survive, and of course, showing the human side of it. You know what I mean? Like you're
Right,
home with your
right.
family, I'm home with mine, and everybody. I've talked to a couple guys, some of Bobby Valif that used to be with
Yeah,
Hasbro.
Bobby.
He came.
Yeah, yeah.
Bobby came on and we kicked it for a little while. Chris
Okay.
Galwich he's got a Kickstarter going. He was with NECA. He's now with the Horsemen. So we were kicking it. Zach Oat from Diamond Select, and I've got a couple other guys that I talk to on the regular, and I was like, would you mind coming on and just kicking it and showing another side, and
Yeah.
staying in touch with the fans. And the other thing was like, some of the guys haven't been seen for a little while and wanted to kind of put them out there, and fans had questions for them, and I figured this was a good way to kind of do that. So I do appreciate you taking time out of your I was gonna say Sunday.
Every day is Saturday.
Ain't that the truth? I know. Sitting home, sometimes I look at my wife. I'm like, "What's today? What's today's day again?" But luckily everything with me and my family's been good. Sounds like you're good. Your wife, obviously she's not feeling too well today, but I hope she feels better.
Yeah, she'll feel better. But thank you so much.
Now I know I see you posting that you're obviously in shape. You be going out there killing it on the pull-up bars and stuff like that. You doing your thing?
Yeah. Actually, I go and run out. I'm gonna run after this, but I run a few miles every day. Do push-ups every day. And actually, like I live like right across the street from the beach, so there's actually like a whole like a path, like a bike and running path there, trail that goes along the beach, and they have one of the cool things. Like this is one reason why people need to, really be conscious of who you vote in. When Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor here in California, he put all these outdoor like workout stations like all over in parks and everything. So there's free workout zones here. So I go and use those as pull-up bars. I never use a gym. I never go to a gym and everything.
You don't have to.
And and it's so like for the mind, man, it's like, just running along the beach. You're not the main thing is that everyone out there is just in their own world, and there's no vanity. There's no mirrors, there's no cockiness, there's no prancing around and all that. So you don't have to worry about
that one.
Yeah, and since you're in your own world, you create your own environment, and everyone is in their own cool environment, in this larger environment that we're all running and working out in. So, I mean, that's the cool thing about, me being from the East Coast and then now living out here in the West Coast. Like, the one thing about living here in the West Coast is that you can find ways to like find your solitude, and even though it's densely populated here in Southern California, there's a lot that you can do, or people that you can even, kind of hover around to find that escape. There's always a group of people that's into what you're into. Like if you're into cars or whatever, and you probably hear sirens in the background. There's always
you heard dogs out here before. I'm out here on my deck. I was like, it's nice out. I'm gonna come out here. I did it the other day, but my computer started to die. That's why I was starting to tell you when you first hopped on. My computer started to die, so I had to run inside and plug it up and finish the interview while I was there. So today I figured out where I could charge it and everything. So I just stay out here, enjoy the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, yeah, man. It's like whatever you're into. Like if you're into cars, or if you're into whatever type of metal music, goth culture, whatever type of thing that you're into, whatever is your thing. Out here in Southern California, you can find someone else or a group of people that's into that too, which instantaneously, you have a culture, a bond, and you can kind of be you and do what you want to do without having anyone, judge you or anything like that. So that's a cool thing about being out here. It's like that openness and that freedom to kind of be you. Or to find who you are, so that's pretty cool.
I've been out to Cali a couple times, and one time specific, I went out there visit some family, and we were up by like the Pismo Beach area, and ended up taking some quads out on the dunes up there, and then had like a camper out on the beach, which is totally different than what you would do out here on the East Coast, especially up here.
Right.
I'm in Jersey. I know you're a Jersey boy.
Right. You can't do that in Jersey.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that up here. And it was it was a fun experience to be able
Hmm.
to do that and just to see like how different things are out there. And you know, I like I like being outside. I like the nature aspect of things, and you have it out there. You have it here too, but you know,
Yeah, we have a lot out in Jersey.
it's a different West Coast.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel.
different. And I
And
always like being outdoors. Like I ran track, when I was in high school and stuff. So I always like to run around and we're playing basketball outside. We hardly ever stayed inside. Actually, we you know ripped and ran so much. But I was always like a kind of outdoor kind of kid, and so I've found out also, that I'm 47 years old. So you just, in order to, you got to find that eternal kid in you, you
mhm.
know and that internal kid, but always find that kid that's always present within you, and and let that kid out often, so you can be a better, healthier you.
Yeah.
'Cause it always boggles my mind, especially particularly being in the toy industry, how some people are so, I can find people who are so far removed from their childhood, from those childhood experiences. They can talk
Mhm.
about it, but they don't practice it. They
Yeah.
don't live it. They don't. It's like they've became these adult robots, these autonomous creatures. You know what I mean? And
You're
so,
part of the industry. You're just you are, you know,
but I mean, that's anybody. I mean,
corporate.
anybody.
I guess you say.
It's like anyone who gets older. It's like it could be your neighbor or somebody. It's like, man, it's like they strayed so far away from that, from their youth, from who they used to be, from that childhood, that childlike feeling and everything, that it's like they have hardened their own sense of self, and then it's like they can't even relate to children anymore. They can't even relate to things that make them, get a sense of gratification, or that's fun, and that's always foreign to me. Like, one thing my mom always stressed growing up was to have fun, and to have fun having fun, enjoy having fun. Don't be afraid to have fun, and we always bugged out, and we video chat like every day, every other day, and we laugh and joke like I did when I was a kid, and it keeps you healthy, physically, mentally, spiritually, and it just keeps you rooted as well, grounded too, So
Yeah, it keeps you very grounded. Now, you said growing up in Jersey. You're from, is it Atlantic City?
yeah, I was born and raised in Atlantic City, and also Pleasantville. Pleasantville
Pleasantville.
is
Okay.
a town, is like 7 miles away. My
Hmm.
grandmother lived in Pleasantville, so I used to go there on the weekends, and then eventually wound up moving there, and I went to Pleasantville High School.
Okay.
So, and graduated from Pleasantville too. But it was like everybody in Pleasantville, in Atlantic City, like everybody, you got relatives and all that. But I used to live in Atlantic City in Pitney Village, and
Okay.
it was right near the casinos and everything. It's actually no longer there. It's been torn down and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, growing up there, it was funny. I didn't know that I was living in the projects until things got bad. Until I moved away. Until
Okay.
we moved. That's when I realized that it was the projects where I lived at. But growing
Okay.
up there, I didn't know that it was the project. I just thought it was like cool brick roll homes. I mean, everybody had
Everybody close.
cars. Everybody had, and back in the day, actually, I was one of the, my mom, is a single mom, but I was one of the few kids actually that didn't have their dad. There was, back in the day, in the early '70s, there was a lot of two family homes in the projects and everything, because it wasn't, the projects wasn't a place where it was generational, where you stayed at. That was like your
Mhm.
stepping stone. You stayed there for a little bit, and you moved on. You moved,
Mhm.
you did what you had to do. So where I lived at, and particularly since it was the casino started to boom there. A lot of the residents had casino jobs, so a lot of people had money. So, and the casinos were cheap, and I mean, the prices were a cheap place to live. So,
Mhm.
it just made sense that a lot of people went to the casinos also, lived in the projects and stuff eventually, but that's also what, because of the casinos that brought a particular and multiple types of lifestyles and money, then eventually drugs started to creep into the projects, and that's where my mom had to, my mom and her boyfriend had to make decisions for us to move, because I was approached by someone that they knew who was an adult to sell drugs at my
Mm,
school.
okay.
I didn't even really fully understand the concept of what he was actually trying to get me to do. You know what I mean? I was, I did that because back in the day, that just wasn't really what
It
what
wasn't.
was happening. And then, but my mom, of course, and her boyfriend, my parents knew what was going on. So, after beating him down, they had to take the proper measures and get me up out of there. So we wound up living at my grandmother's and wound up buying my grandmother's house, and I was, raised there and went to high school, junior high school, and high school in Pleasantville.
Which is probably one of the best things that could have happened for you.
Yeah, but at the time I was so pissed because I was just turning into the teenage years, like
Okay.
12 going into 13. So that's when you
You were
start
kind of
having.
rooted in the in
Yeah, you're already rooted. Your friends are there, but also, you start, for guys, you start getting girls and everything, and I wanted to be with my friends, hanging out, getting the girls and stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I felt like I was being pulled from that into this other environment, and I was like kind of ticked off for a little bit, but it wasn't that bad because I knew the majority of the people anyway.
Okay.
Because we was in so close proximity to each other, but. I was always the type of kid, since I'm the only child, man, I was always the kind of kid that could adjust and adapt to kind of any situation and environment that I was thrust to be in.
Okay. And
You
you say you
know,
play
like
sports too, right?
yeah, yeah. I ran track. I played, I was always a drummer, so I played the drums, and I was drum captain from my sophomore year to senior year in high school. But ran track and field, ran a 400, 4x4 relay, and I always like played basketball, but not in high school, but always like on the streets and all that stuff.
Okay.
But did the thing that kids do back in the '80s, growing up. Rode bikes in the past and all that. Played kickball, dodgeball, basketball, baseball. The days seemed endless back in the day.
Nobody was inside on their computers all day long. They were outside playing.
Yeah, and yeah, we were outside playing, and if we weren't outside playing, we were inside watching karate flicks, cartoons, reading comic books, watching movies. You know what I mean? It was like we just somehow we fit this time to not only break away and be kids, but also indulge ourselves in pop culture too.
Hmm.
It was just this harmonious thing that you did. It was just, and also too, hip hop was blowing up. So, and that was very prevalent too. Like, so you didn't feel like you had to do this and had to do that. It was just all organically happening around you.
And
You
just
know,
formed what you did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Jersey boy, you grew up Pleasantville. How did you get into the toy industry, or was it? Did you have an interest in the toy industry, or were you interested in something else that kind of ended up leading you to the toy industry?
Well, for me, I always was a comic book kid, particularly Marvel comics.
I was gonna say Marvel or DC.
Yeah, I mean, but I was always a Marvel kid. Like my mom was actually a Marvel fan in the '60s. She was part of the whole counterculture. So when I was born in '72, man, it was like I literally had comic books in my crib. Like I wasn't. She didn't. Her and my dad didn't read like normal bedtime stories and fairy tales to me. They read to me stories about the Hulk and Spider Man and Thor and Iron Man. Like Fantastic Four. Those were the stories that they actually would tell me about. And also I had the comic books, so I was always into comic books, and also like my first superhero. My first of all time is the $6 Million Man, so I was a huge $6 Million Man fan. So, and again, being an only child, I always had all the toys and everything, and then eventually I just started to draw. And back in the day when I was a kid, if you had a particular talent, you know, kids would kind of put you on Front Street to test to see if you actually could do what you say you could do. So I was always amazed by artists and drawing and stuff like that, and so I eventually started to trace and draw and everything and get a little bit better. So when I had the confidence to say that I can draw, the kids was like, "Yo, you can't draw. Yo, my man Tony over here knows how to draw. Yo, you and him battle." Like that's how it was. And if you said that you had a talent like that, basically what it was you were putting yourself out in Front Street. You were trying to shine. If you couldn't do what you say you could do, you probably get
Hey,
beat up.
and they
You
ain't
know what
gonna
I
let
mean?
you
Like
live
that.
that down.
Right, yeah, like that's how it was. Like you say you could draw, you can't draw, pop out. And it was like, man, keep your mouth shut next time. So like that, so that's kind of like how it started. And I started drawing and like almost like it was like it was in hip it was like hip hop in a way, like doing graffiti, like actually battling dudes drawing, and I remember doing that in high school, and then that's when I was like, I want to, you know, this segued into the lifelong dream of not only loving comic books but wanting to be a comic book artist. So um, and during that time, there really wasn't any there wasn't any schools to be a toy designer or anything like that, or
Hmm.
like curriculum that was set up to be a toy designer. And that wasn't even on my mind at the time. Like I wanted to do comic books, so but also comic book artists weren't paid a lot. They didn't really
Hmm.
earn a lot. They didn't sustain, and this is before even when the guys left the book away to start Image. It just
Hmm.
wasn't a very lucrative industry. And being from Atlantic City, in a casino town, it was very advertising driven. So my mom suggested that I go to art school, but major in advertising and graphic design. So if I had something to fall back on, I can always fall back on doing advertisement, and graphic design because ads advertising is like the
That's
second.
everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's like the world's second oldest profession.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia with the hopes and dreams of becoming a comic book illustrator. And then, after I graduated, there was an ad in the paper actually for Spencer Gifts, the store that's in all of the malls. They used to be in all
Hmm.
the malls around the country and everything. And their home office is right outside of Atlantic City in Egg Harbor Township.
Okay, I didn't know
So yeah, so I had saw that ad, and I had just graduated from the Art Institute of Philadelphia, so I just took everything that was in my portfolio and just threw it out, man. And I redid my portfolio over that weekend. I just put in there everything that I thought that Spencer's was about. Like the fantasy, the horror, the craziness,
they got like a little bit of everything in there.
yeah, a little bit of everything. A lot of black light stuff,
Hmm.
and I did like some Star Trek stuff. And I had a suit that was three times too big and went in there, and they were actually starting their new product development department. They didn't, because prior to that they only would get products from vendors, like they bought it from vendors. They didn't create their own stuff. So they were actually looking to starting a department, a design department where they can create
Their
their
own
own,
product.
right, their own owned and operated product, and not only make it product but turn it into other things, like turn it into entertainment. So um so I was the first artist that was actually a designer that was hired on staff for the product development department. And that was, I was like what, 23, 24 years old at the time, man, and I thought that was a dream come true. I thought I hit the jackpot, and I was actually now a working professional artist, earning $25,000 a year. Like I thought I hit the jackpot. And so I started, right off the bat, I started designing stuff for like Friday the 13th, doing Friday 13th live events and Halloween. And I was always a rock and roll fan, so I did a lot of stuff for Elvis and the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors. Um, and then we did a lot of fantasy stuff, and actually wound up creating this articulated lamp called the Human Lamp, and that was actually one of the first inklings of of actually thinking of trying to do an action figure. That was the first time I actually thought about designing something in the way that an action figure would be designed, designing an articulated lamp. And and then eventually we started, working on products for kids for their reunion tour. And during that time, there was like everyone was doing Kiss products. McFarlane just started, they came out with their line,
Mhm.
and they were doing some Kiss stuff. And it was a company called Fun for All and also Art Asylum. They were just starting off, and they did these giant Kiss dolls. They were like 16 inches tall, something like that. And I was meeting, like, since it was a big group of us that we were all working for doing this product for kids, we were, getting it ready for the kids reunion tour. So, like, Gene Simmons was like, I was dealing with him on a daily basis, getting yelled at by Gene Simmons and everything. And eventually, I met this guy named Digger Mesh, and Digger was the head of Art Asylum.
Okay.
He is a sculptor. He sculpted the Kiss dolls. He also, him and Mezco, they started a toy line that was called Aztec Toys, and they had these line of toys called the Silent Screamers, something like that. And so I had met. He came down for this business meeting, and he wanted to meet, the designers on staff, and he thought he was going to meet like a few people, but it was just me. And I was designing this Ozzy Osbourne Crazy Train incense burner. And Digger came over and he was like, "Yo, man, that's a pretty dope drawing, man. I love the attitude and the train and everything." Because think of it like the Soul Train,
Mhm.
like animated Soul Train that had like it was kind of rocking like that, but it was all like skulls and you know thick black smoke coming out of it, looked real evil and everything. But it was all it had like lyrics from Ozzy Osbourne songs. We were designing all these products from his songs.
Okay.
So he saw this and was like, "Man, like that's kind of dope." So he was like, we started talking and chopping. Like, man, cool. Like I toy line and everything. I would love for you to, you should come up to Brooklyn, man, and just come up and hang out one day. And just by him saying that, man, it was like validation. And also too, there was at the time like Wizard magazine was out, Toy Fair
Mhm.
magazine was out, and like Action Figure Digest was out. These were magazines, and he
I
had
remember
just
those. I missed those.
yeah, I'm,
Have them in your hand, something you could, you know what I mean? Every
I
month.
know.
Wait till next month's issue.
Yeah, no, right? I mean, that was like our Bible. And Digger had this huge write up, in Action Figure Digest, and I read it, and I was just so inspired by this guy, man. So when he came down, I was in the midst of like, being a big fan of his, and just being super inspired. But he didn't know that, and
Mhm.
I played it cool. I played it off and everything. But when he said that, come up to New York, man, in my mind, that was just so much validation. Like, maybe I can do this, So I didn't actually take him up on his offer, but I wound up leaving Spencer's and I went to a preschool toy company called Shellcore
Okay.
Toys. And I figured I would go there and kind of learn the ropes. Because I was always the type of dude, like back in the day, like how you learn things, it was like you kind of earned your bones, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
People, you just earned your way. And also getting into this business, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any toy designers. I didn't know any engineers. I didn't know any marketers. I knew nobody.
You just came in
So
fresh off the street.
right. So even then it was like I couldn't even find that door to even open up or that phone to pick up the call and ask for a hookup. Like I had to really like pound the pavement and do it on my own. Like, do my own research,
Mhm.
figure out how manufacturing is done, how to figure out how to make plastic, from petroleum and stuff like that. I had to figure it out on my own.
Uh,
So so I started working for Shellcore and figuring like that was going to be like my way to learn. And I'm going from designing, like Gene Simmons, Demon action figures to
which is a pretty big property. I mean, Gene Simmons,
yeah,
Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne. Those, I mean, those are big.
yeah. I mean, I go doing Gene Simmons and Kids to doing preschool rattlers and you know what I mean. So that was a big shift. It was a big shift. You know what I mean. It was an uncomfortable shift. You know what I mean. Like, and that was always kind of like my thing, man. Like, I don't know why, but sometimes in my mind, sometimes doing things the hard way isn't necessarily doing things the wrong way or the bad way. It's just you just gotta, it just motivates you and gives you that extra push to really grind, so and sometimes you gotta thrust yourself in uncomfortable situations to find out if you can actually thrive in it, and to excel, because everything isn't going to be easy,
No.
particularly when I can't front, particularly when you're black, because not only did I not meet anybody, I didn't know anybody that was black to begin with that was doing this, so that was another layer, like there was just no one out there who I can identify with,
Hmm.
that I can even like remotely have any type of connection with, because at that time in my there's just nobody was around.
And
I just
a lot of people don't understand that like for kids growing up, having somebody to identify with means a whole lot,
it
and
means a whole lot. It means sometimes a kid needs validation. Sometimes a lot of the times a kid needs information, direction, just something like some type of something where they can be related to,
there's somebody,
and understood.
me that's doing it, you know.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I not to cut you off, but like I always try to hammer that home, like with my daughter. Um, my wife's family's from Sierra Leone, and she's Sierra Leonean and Lebanese. So
Hmm.
my daughter, I'm mixed. My daughter's mixed. My daughter, my complexion, but real curly hair and everything. And a lot of her cousins are your complexion. So but
That's
I
how my family is.
and I always try to tell my daughter, like I love her curly hair and everything, and you look beautiful, you look beautiful. Give her that, that confidence. But some people don't understand it, and when I share certain things, like certain characters, she likes Captain Marvel,
Hmm.
she likes the other one, Camilla Khan Marvel. And then she likes Wonder Woman. She likes a whole bunch of uh, different ones. But if she sees a black or brown figure or a doll, she gravitates towards that. And so when
Right.
I see certain things, I try to show it to her. And some people are like, oh, well, why are you making it about black and brown? So it's not about black and brown. So what it is you have a whole store full of white Barbies, and you might
Hmm.
have two black or brown Barbies on that shelf. And those two that are there are going to make a world of difference to those
Right.
little girls that see it and say they look like me.
Right.
And it's like it's not that I'm taking away from you and what you want to see, but there's other people out there, and other people need to be able to relate to that. And like you said,
Exactly.
you being in the industry young and not having other people to gravitate towards too or try to hook up, they don't realize like there's other people that are hook them up, not as many people that will hook us up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And also too, man, it's just like, I was the type of kid that I didn't just play with my toys. I was inspired by my toys, and with that inspiration, you know, that aspiration, there was inspiration. You know what I mean? So I literally wanted to be a toy. I wanted to be it. So for me, when I really had that in my mind, like that's what I wanted to do, there was no one that could relate to that. There was no one that could relate. I could not find at that time anyone that could relate to me. So I knew that this journey was going to be hard. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. And I guess, I mean, you can say that I was because I was brought up a particular way, or maybe because I just experienced certain things that made me think like, early on, I got to be a little bit tough. My shell got to be a little bit hard because people out here are a little bit rude and mad and bad. But in order for me to do what I got to do that no one can relate to, I got to keep that to myself and I got to push through. Because again, unfortunately, with minorities, man, like we've also been played this mind trick where we have this crab in a basket mentality. So the minute that you have a talent or something that's uniquely different that you want to push further, there's people around you that would dash those dreams. Like, man, I want to draw. Man, you can't draw. I want to work for Marvel Comics. You can't do that. I want to
Mhm.
design toys. You can't do that. Like before you can even get a chance to let that dream become anything, there's people that want to snatch it. So I learned that early on, just by and kids can be mean, but I learned that just by my peers at that time, just how and maybe I was overly sensitive being the only child, but I just picked up on that so early that I knew that my art and my dream and my passions was sacred and I had to carry that and push through no matter what. And I didn't know where I was going to end up, and I still don't. But I had to gain, I acquired that awareness early on. For some reason, it just happened early on,
Mhm.
and I think that also prepared me because in this career path, in anything creative, man, you get more no's than you do yes. The door is slammed in your face way more than it is opened.
Open.
And I mean, I've been blessed to have worked, you know, at some amazing companies on some amazing brands, man, that I would have imagined, that I could have dreamed of. But I can honestly say that I've been rejected a thousands times more than I've had, opportunities of getting in there. For every door that opened up at Toy Biz, for every door that opened up at Hasbro or Mattel, there's been thousands that have been slammed in my face. Loudly and quietly, but slam nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? And that just always motivated me and prepared me. I just never hung my head too long. I mean, I would get upset and get down and get depressed and everything, but I never stayed there. I never gave up, and I think that's what allowed me to push through. And I never ate. I never fed into you can't do that. So because that was never put into me as a kid from my parents, from my family. It was like I want to work for Marvel Comics. I just knew I wanted to do that. When I saw Star Wars, I was like, I want to be a part of it. I didn't know how. I just knew I wanted to be a part of that in
Mhm.
some capacity. I wanted to be involved in that. And it was always, yeah, you can do it. How you going to do it? Let's do it. You want to draw? Then this is what you do. This is what you need to do. And when it came to a point where when my mom or my parents or my family couldn't carry me anymore, I had to take that baton like in running track and running on my own.
Pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, yeah, so to bring it all full circle about what's going on now, I hope that this ushers in that type of fortitude where we just push through, you know what I mean, and make whatever happen that we want to make happen.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely I agree with that. Definitely, with not to get into the politics. Obviously we've talked a little bit about that, but a lot of people are like, oh, they're worried about things that are inevitably gonna happen with the whole situation. People not working, suicide, and other things like that. Which
Hmm.
not to um, talk negatively about suicide or anything like that. That's a whole nother subject. But
Hmm.
I've had a couple conversations with people. Oh, I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna lose everything. I'm like, but you're really not. Like,
Yeah, you're
are,
not.
you're healthy. You got your family. I'm like,
You're not.
the people that are complaining, like, I'm gonna lose everything, and then suicide and this and that.
Yeah.
Those are the people that have never lost anything.
Right. And
And,
it's wild, man, because the mind will play tricks on you. We worry about 80% of the things that we worry about never come to fruition, you
Hmm.
know, and I know, I've been down that road of of feeling down, depressed, and thinking that things will be maybe a little bit better with me not in the picture. I've been down that road, like, been down there, like thinking that, man, I feel overwhelmed. My bills are out of control, or my living, my life is spiraling out of control. Trust me, man, I've been there. I've been down that road. And the main thing to do is to realize that, number one, it's in your mind. That these thoughts are your own thoughts that you are putting into your own head,
Hmm.
and that a lot of this stuff that we're all experiencing, we all experience. We've all been down there. We're all been in these situations, man.
Whether
Before
you
this
admit it or
reality,
not, whether you admit it or not,
yeah,
everybody
whether you admit it
experienced
or
it.
not. And then, man, to realize that, to stay in the moment, man, that where you are is way better, man, than where you could end up.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've had situations where, it's funny. When I was in art school, man, I almost actually went to jail for almost 10 years for being involved in a crime that I really didn't have anything to do with. And I'm like 19 years old and already thinking that my life is about to be over. And I remember then, man, that's when I first began to experience, depression, and feeling like, man, this world will be so much better with me not in it. Just looking at my mom, who sacrificed so much, and then to see her, the look on her face, man, coming to get me to the police station, that was something that I never wanted to experience. So once I had the opportunity to, you know, look past that and get that behind me, and I never look back, man. And so sometimes, man, a lot of people just need to hear and to understand that, someone else been in their shoes,
Hmm.
someone else understands, and to reach out, to make each other available, to reach out to your loved ones, to, especially now we're really starting to understand how reaching out really matters,
Hmm.
by staying and calling people, emailing, FaceTiming, video chatting, all that stuff. But suicide, particularly, man, when you're dealing with creatives and, guys who deal with like art and stuff like that, it's kind of common. We already sequestered in and of itself. We already quarantine ourselves and everything.
Hmm.
So, and and it's not an artist thing. Anybody can suffer from depression, but
Hmm.
you just can't let your mind get away from you, So just talk to someone, think that, if you do feel as though you need to talk to someone, like, that's a good thing, it's a good thing to be able to express yourself to someone else, man. Because
Because somebody might have, like you said, somebody might have been going through or is going
somebody
through
might be going
exactly
through
what
it
you're
that
going
you
through.
never would have understood. You might have never even known,
Hmm.
or never would have thought, but it's very common. It's very common, and that's why when I hear people, experience that, and especially like, now at my age, and this stage in my life, I feel as though that, if if I am open and share about my experiences, it might help somebody else,
Hmm.
and some people just need to hear that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So you went from preschool like toys to
Yeah. So
Toy
I was
Biz.
there at Shellcore, and that really didn't work out. I showed up one day and it was a box on my desk, and that's also something that's pretty common in the toy industry. Sometimes, man, layoffs just happen, and you can walk into your cube, into your desk, and there's just a box sitting there,
So you already
and
know what it is.
you already know what it is. You gotta start figuring out and planning what you're gonna do next. So, and I was kind of cool with that, because it wasn't the right fit. But I learned a lot from being. I always learn from wherever I am and whoever I'm working with. So, and also sometimes, man, things just happen in God's time. So when that happened, you know, I just kind of chilled out for a little bit, and then lo and behold, it was an ad in the paper again. And this time, man, it was for It was for an unknown company. It like it was it says something the wording I can't remember the exact wording, but it was very descriptive, but it wasn't like this is Marvel, or this is Toy
Okay.
Biz. It wasn't like that, right? But it was said it was a toy company like dealing with I think with like pop culture stuff and toys, and it had certain keywords in there. So somehow I kind of figured out that it was actually Toy Biz. I looked on
Okay.
the address and they were actually moving. They just moved. They had just they were the address that was there. It was an old Marvel Comics um, address, and then no, I'm sorry. They just moved into their new building. They were just moving to their Park Avenue building, because then they moved again, and then when I got there, we were actually moving again. We moved on 40th Street, but they just Toy Biz had just moved into this Park Avenue building, and that building had the same address as Marvel. So I figured out like, yo, this is like Marvel. This is Toy Biz. So, and I found that out by, like, I remember when I went up to the interview, I did not know. I put the bus up to New York, had my portfolio, and I did not know. I got to the Port Authority, I had no clue how to get there. Like, it was no map quest, anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
Now you were
Google,
still
no
living in
cell
P. Were
phone.
you living in PA? You were living in Jersey.
I was living in Jersey.
Okay.
I was living in Jersey, so I put the bus. I used to catch the bus up. When I worked in Marvel, I used to catch the bus every day from Atlantic City to Manhattan every day.
Oof. Oof.
And so I put the bus up there, and I figured, I had to figure out where to go and walk up there and everything. And I go in there, and they had these glass doors with webs on them, like Spider-Man webs, and I was just like, all right, let me just calm down. Like my hands getting sweaty and whatnot. Like, let me just chill. Let me just try to relax
Yeah, shake
and
it off.
stay, you're right, and stay cool, right? So I think like I'm sitting in there, I'm sitting in the hallway. I made it on time for the interview, and I'm waiting in the waiting room. And the first person I see walking in the hallway is like Jesse Falcon, but I didn't know who he was. But I just saw his face, and he looked like mad intense, like he had like this 1,000 yard stare. You know what I mean? Then he veered off and walked somewhere else. Then I saw another guy, Damon Nee, um, and I saw him, and then I had my interview, and then I had another interview, and then I had another interview with their head of security. And I knew that this interview might have been something because on his desk, I actually saw my divorce decree on his desk.
Mm.
So he, and then I found out that this dude was like ex, like FBI or something like that. So that, like, Marvel always had, like, people think that Marvel goes bonkers over their movie stuff and, like, really protective and go through the extra measures with their security. No, they always been like that. Always, they've always been like that. So so I knew that it was serious when I saw like all like my personal stuff on his desk and kind of fixed it up and everything. So we had a chat. Then I wound up getting hired. And when I got hired there, it was also when Joe Quesada actually just got hired there too. So me, Joe Quesada, we had orientation together, and he just got brought on board as like the editor in chief. And it was us, and it was this guy, Sandro Lopez, who worked
Mhm.
for Toy Biz, and another guy named Steven Sumner. And Steven Sumner, he was a little bit older than me. He was black, and it was like I felt like when I first saw Steven, it was like people would describe when they first saw like Jimi Hendrix. Like he couldn't even. It was like sound walked into the. You know what I mean? It was like that. Like the dude was elaborate. Very, very just out there. You know what I mean? Just he had no problem about loving who he was, who he is, loving himself and expressing that in any way possible. And I was like, yo, this is like the freest brother I've ever met in my life. This is the this is the freest brother I've ever met. And and I was like, man, if this is how it's going to be working here, this is going to be dope. You know what I mean? So And at Toy Biz, it was so fun. We had this eclectic crew of people, man. It was like studio style. And I mean, like Damon Neves there, Jessica Falcon. We had to do Junius Ortiz and Mike Mucci. He used to work for MTV Animation, and Jacques Brady, and we had some dope artists there, man. Sculptors, Phil Ramirez, and Dave Cortez used to be there. Digger would come through. Digger was sculpting for them. I mean, man, it was like so much talent at that time was happening at Toy Biz, and also too, Toy Biz had just bought Marvel, so we were going through this huge reconstruction. We just started, making plans to have movies and everything like that. And Spider-Man 1 was just about to go into production. The X-Men movie was done, and Blade was done, and Blade 2. I mean, so this was like on the ground floor of what we now know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And
Yeah.
we were all starting this during that time when I got on board. And man, it was like, it was just amazing. It was amazing. It was like making it into the NBA or making it to the NFL. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I finally got drafted by the big team. I'm finally in the big leagues.
Big leagues, you're happy doing what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So it was amazing. I mean, that was like some of the most fun, creative moments of my life. The friendships, we're still all friends and everything, and it's so funny. Like that the Lego Masters show
Uh-huh.
on Fox, like Sam Hatmaker. He used to work at Toy Biz, man. I remember when Sam, he used to live in Detroit, he used to live in Michigan, you know, basically sold all his stuff, packed his truck, drove to New York, sold his truck, and started working on the street, selling, like handing out flyers and stuff like that. And eventually made his way into Toy Biz. He was an assistant there, when we
All
were
right.
there. You know what I mean? So we had like this group, man, of people that was just, amazing. Like, we had sculptors. Jerry Macaluso used to do some work for us, and he started his own company, Soda Toys, but he wound up being a face off and stuff like that. I mean, bro, it's like amazing, amazing. The amount of talent that came out of Toy Biz that I was fortunate enough and blessed to be around with, man, is like legendary, legendary.
What was like one of the first projects that you worked on there at Toy Biz?
The first thing I think I worked on was, I think it was a base for like Spider-Man for the movie, for Spider-Man movie one, or something for X-Men 2,
Okay.
something like that. It was somewhere around there. It was something I was working on. Oh, definitely some Lord of the Rings stuff too, because we were working on Lord of the Rings as well. And so I remember like kind of doing some stuff, like doing some B sheets and everything, kind of conceptualizing what the idea was going to be as a product and putting that idea on paper. So
Okay.
that was it, and also like coloring up stuff, and doing turnarounds. We did a lot of, front side orthographic, views, front
Okay.
side and back stuff. So it was a lot of that, a lot of drawing. We did a lot of stuff by hand. We would draw our stuff, on a board, and draw it by hand before doing stuff on a computer,
Before the
and
whole digital,
yeah, 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 and even sculpting, like stuff back then wasn't sculpted digitally.
there
It
was
was
no Z
sculpted,
brushes back then.
right. And then actually, when we started working with Gentle Giant, working on Lord of the Rings, like they were the digital artists at the time. They were the digital sculpting house, so they introduced this whole new way of doing stuff. So like, but they were new. You know what I mean? And again, everyone was just on the ground floor, man. It was just this amazing period, and not just with Toy Biz too, but also different companies like NECA, and at the time Palisades Toys was around. Again, Soda Toys was around. There was like Plan B.
Mhm.
There was this amazing, looking back at it now, this amazing renaissance that was happening. That it was just it was crazy. I never would have imagined in a million years that I would be a part of anything like that.
It's called
You
like
know,
the golden era of toys.
yeah,
They said
yeah.
the
I mean,
Renaissance.
because I mean, like, I've lived. I got the tail end of the golden age of the comic books, like through my mom, and lived through and experienced the golden age of hip hop. I didn't think that just by, finding a job to do what I love to do will result in being a part of what people consider uh, an amazing time period, or like you say, the golden age of toys. Like I never would have thought I would be a part of that.
Mhm. The War Machine figure.
Hmm.
was was that something intentional, or you kind of slid that in and then it just
Nah, it's funny. It's funny because again, man, honest, but to be quite honest with you, well, Rose is, James Rose, Rhodey is Tony Stark's best friend,
happened?
but Rhodey at that time was also one of the few African American characters in Marvel, and it's particularly with a major role. And I was the only black guy in the studio. So Jesse looked at me, and also what we did, because like at McFarlane, actually it goes back to G.I. Joe, we had always heard that the and also like the artwork in the back of the G.I. Joe parts and all that stuff, like the art. We always heard that stuff was based off the guys that worked around on the toys, like the guys that were in the studio and all that stuff. So and then McFarlane, like when he did like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Mhm.
figure that he did, like that's Chris Dahlberg's head in there. He's a sculptor. Like Chris is my boy, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's his head in the pail in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that was something that was kind of always kind of like, that was the one thing about the 22 that we kind of knew that, like some of these likenesses or heads or images were actually the guys
Okay.
that like around. So
Yeah.
Jesse had approached me, was like, "Hey, you want to be War Machine?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, and it wasn't even like, honestly, it was literally just like that. Like Jesse walked up to my area, said, "Yo, you want to be War Machine?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so we took these pictures of like front side views of my face, and then Cortez. Dave Cortez is an amazing sculptor. I mean, this Dave is like, he's like the Shaolin master, and he's done like tons of Toy Biz stuff, and actually, fun fact, Dave Cortez sculpted the image of Nas on I Am album, him as the Pharaoh.
Yeah, the Pharaoh.
Yeah, Dave Cortez sculpted that. That's a
Oh,
sculpture. That's a sculpture done by
is it?
Dave of
I didn't know.
Nas. Yeah. So Dave sculpted me as War Machine.
War Machine.
And so we took the pictures and everything, gave it to Dave. Dave was out for like, he was working on it for a couple weeks. And I literally forgot about it. Like it was like that, like forgot about it. Because we're always busy and stuff. And then it came back and it was like my whole, like Jesse kind of kept it. He didn't let me see it, and then eventually I saw the first shot of it, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like that's me! Like that's me!" And then I'm looking like that's not only my nose, but that's like my mom's nose, and that's my dad's nose. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking at me, but I'm like looking at the ancestral part of it too. You know
What
what
your
I'm
mom said
saying?
when she saw it.
She was laugh, like we always laugh first. Then she was just like, "This is crazy." And then she looked at it, it's like, "That's you." So then, but then it was like spread like wildfire in my family. Everybody like wanted one, and they didn't understand. They didn't understand like I don't have like just these hanging around the office and whatnot, and it was only a few that I had. So then I would wind up, if I saw it in the stores, I would get it, but then those runs were limited, and then if I would see it in the convention, I would get it. But every time I went from getting it for free to have to pay him for a little bit to paying for a bit
A
more to
markup on
paying
it.
for it even more. You know what I mean? So I was like, look, I had to tell my family, like, look, I don't have any more. There's no more. They don't make them anymore. If you want one, these are the comic conventions you can go to try to find one. Once the internet started booming, it's like you can find on the internet. I have no access to this. None. None. But it was
I got
fun.
one. I got one.
But it was fun because it was like, one reason why, and another reason why is so personal to me, and then it wound up becoming even more personal, is because Bob Layton was one of my favorite artists of all time, like him, John Byrne, John Romita Jr., Brain Rice, and all those guys. Man, they were like my favorite artists. But Bob Layton was like one of my top guys, and to be in the likeness of a character that he created was like, wow. But then I wound up meeting Bob, when I worked on Iron Man at Hasbro, and I wound up sending him a press kit package, of the product and everything, because everyone kind of left him off the list.
Mhm.
I'm like, yo, this is Bob Layton's story. You know what I mean? Like this is Bob Layton's story. So I sent him the press kit, and we wound up building a friendship after that. And that was, again, man, like, me being a kid growing up reading Iron Man, and all these other comics, and seeing the name Bob Layton, and then eventually becoming a character that he helped co-create, and then meeting him and being personal friends with him, and then talking about, personal experiences, our family, and, we've laughed, we've cried, and I'm like, I consider him a friend. That is wild to me. And
All
this
full
is
circle.
yeah, yeah, and it's stuff like that, man. That's one reason why I love this industry, why I love toys, man, why I love it, why I love this game, man, because it these guys have raised me, and then, pushed me forward, and now we can give back, and so that is just dope all the way around.
So you've been in the industry almost what 30 years, right? You said
Like 20, like my daughter is 24, she'll be 25. It's almost like 25 years now. Yeah.
25 years. So when you were with Toy Biz, and then you got laid off by Toy Biz, or you left Toy Biz?
I wound up leaving.
Okay.
I was, because again, I used to travel from Atlantic City to New York, and it's fun. Being in the toy industry is great. It's a blessing and everything, but the day to day of that was like really like starting to the wear and tear. The commute and everything, and also like moving my family up and everything. It was a lot that was going on at the time, and my grandmother had died too. So it was like a lot of personal things that were happening at the time that I just had to step away from. So
Okay.
I wound up leaving, and then I went to another company called Tucker Toys, and there we did this this toy called the flat ball. Basically, it was a ball that you can smash down into a frisbee and throw it, and then it will pop back into a ball. It was called the flat ball, and there was licenses that was tied into it. So eventually, we wound up doing like a Spider-Man license. So I was
Right
dealing
back
right
on.
back again with the guys over at Toy Biz and everything, right? So then with that, I get a call. I'm at Tucker Toys, and it was in Jersey, like in Somerset, New Jersey. And I get a call, and at first I thought it was a prank. I thought it was just Falcon playing a prank on me. And it was a call from Hasbro, and they wanted to, fly me up there and talk to me about a position there, and what I found out was that they were acquiring the Marvel license, and they needed to have someone that had that experience work on the Marvel license, but they couldn't hire anyone from Marvel directly.
Okay.
So
So because you had already left, that was the loophole where you were good
that
to come back in.
right, that was the loop. That was the loophole right there. So so I wound up going back to well, I wound up going to Hasbro, but while they were assembling, getting all the pieces together for the Marvel team, I worked a little bit on the Star Wars team. So, I'm at Hasbro and I worked on like Galactic Hero stuff, so that was cool. And I was also working along with Mark Boudreau, and Mark Boudreau, a guy who is like almost synonymous with other than George Lucas, man, he's like synonymous with Star Wars. It's
So
definitely as far as toys go. He's like the father, the Godfather, and so I'm just like soaking in all of his like wisdom and knowledge and everything. And then eventually we start working on the Marvel stuff, and I'm helping out like with the Marvel Legends and everything. And it was very different. It was different at the time because Hasbro was trying to understand what Marvel was about,
mhm.
and Marvel was trying to understand what Hasbro was about. And Hasbro was trying to obviously keep the continuity and everything going. And so it was different. It was a culture clash. You know what I mean? And
That was like that early start with like the first, was it like the brood
yeah, yeah,
wave
yeah,
and all this,
yeah.
like those first waves, or it was kind of
First wave. But at
the
that time period it was just weird. And me being from Toy Biz and understanding the crew there, and then me being entrenched at Hasbro and understanding how their processes and culture is, it was like at times I felt like I was a kid in the midst of in the middle of a bad marriage. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I just felt like I was kind of in the middle, to try to get things right, and while everyone was trying to understand each other. So, so that was a strange kind of period. And also too, man, I don't know if you remember around that time, but Marvel had stopped making toys altogether
yeah.
because Hasbro was the master toy license, the master license holder. But um, also around this time, Toy Biz wound up making Legendary Heroes.
Mhm.
You kind of
I,
remember that line,
I remember those. Yeah,
like the pit and figure and all that stuff. It was basically
yeah,
all
yeah.
based on Image Comics. And
Savage Dragon and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that line, not only was it really, really dope, but it was really, really uncomfortable.
yeah.
Because
Which blade?
yeah, because we were being directed from the Marvel guys at that time through Jesse, working on Marvel product, but then all of a sudden they come out with their own line of action figures that were a hell of a lot better.
Hmm.
So that created some strange tension that was going on, between the companies at the time.
Okay.
And then during that time period, that's why I'm also creating 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe figures.
That
So now with that, and now word started to trickle around the community that we were doing this, and I think because when Hasbro acquired the license, everyone kind of it was something that everyone kind of expected, since Star Wars is 3 3/4 inch and GI Joe is 3 3/4 inch, it just made sense that if Hasbro was going to do something with Marvel, they eventually have to do 3 3/4 inch at some point in time. Like it just has to happen. So
whose idea was that?
well, it was how it kind of happened was like presented in the line plan. We kind of sat, with the marketing group and as we're sitting there, kind of populating what our whole line, what the assortments and everything's going to look like. Not just for action figures, but with role play.
Hmm.
With outdoor products, with vehicles. With environments, whatever it is. It all goes into a line plan to see, where it's all going to fit, the price points where it's all going to land and everything. So we just want to populate this line plan, basically populate the shelf as much as we can, and put in slots. It's going to make sense, you know.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how in the technical sense where the 3 3/4 inch line kind of slid in from. Like that's where it just kind of, came into the line plan. And but with that, it was like, hey, like you know, the director at the time was like, you're going to work on this. So, and also too, this line was only supposed to be like, maybe 8 characters at best at the time,
Mhm.
and I was just like, there's no way in hell we're doing that. Like, there's just no way in hell we're doing like 8 Marvel characters and then that's it. There's just no way.
They wanted like
So,
the main focal characters. Is that what it was?
right. And also too, I knew that because if we approach it like that, the line would be dead to begin with. So we gotta do something in a more grander sense. So that's when I started to play around with adding more characters into the line. But then it's like, if I add these characters into the line, like how am I going to do it in a smart way?
Mhm.
So that's when I had to think about Marvel Legends. How we did Marvel Legends was maximize the body styles, the tooling that we had. So, if we develop a particular body for Spider-Man, we use that body for Iron Fist, we use that body for Daredevil, we use that body for, whoever.
Mhm.
So I had to develop the body styles so they could be used multiple times by multiple different characters.
Be more cost effective.
Right. And then that was how the line began to grow. And eventually, like I had created like a sample diorama just to sell in the idea. I did a diorama of like a Sentinel, and the X-Men were the figures, and it was a diorama of a foam cutout Sentinel, a 3D Sentinel too. And so it was like Colossus and Cyclops and Wolverine and was a Marvel Girl at the time, and it was like basically like giant size X-Men #1,
Okay.
and that was used internally to sell in the idea, to upper management, and then eventually to us for our sales team and everything like that for retail. This is what we would show, and I also showed it to Zach O, and he was over at Wizard and Toy Fair magazine. So we invited Zach up to Hasbro, and we told him what we were doing, and of course he was a big Marvel Legends fan, and just like at the time everybody else, the whole community was kind of ticked off at Hasbro at that time. And no one was really liking what was happening.
Mhm.
Just and like you say, like the Brood, and also like that 25th anniversary Silver Wolverine, and like it was just a lot of things that were the Submariner. There was a lot of things that were just coming out the gate that just weren't the fans just didn't like.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four wave. That was a little.
Fantastic Four wave,
Yeah.
yep. And so we showed the 3 3/4 inch the Marvel Universe line to Zach, and he was just like, man, this is dope, but it's gonna piss a lot of people off. You know what I mean? But we knew that's what was going to happen, and that whole thing, man, was this whole collaborative effort. Like, like I always was a big fan of the Marvel Universe handbooks and everything, so
Mhm.
we kind of going through a whole round robin of names, like, oh, like this is what it's going to be, like the Marvel Universe, and
Mhm.
we had like just our engineer, our copywriter, our graphics person, like Alex the Pergolo. I always, never mention her name, but Alex was like super major in the whole thing. But it was such a collaborative effort, amongst the team to really come out strong, because I think that we all were getting our lumps from the fan community about Marvel Legends.
Mhm.
And then with that, it's just everything was just we were all just getting hit. So we really all wanted to come out the gate with something that we all wanted to be proud of,
You
and
know, it
then
was
we
either
all
sink
wanted
or
to be
swim.
strong. Say that again.
You knew it was sink or swim. Either it
Yeah,
was going to
yeah.
come out and be phenomenal, or
Yeah, so that was
one
it.
wave and done. Yeah.
That was it. So and that was the beginning of the Marvel Universe, man. And it started. And I remember how I kind of introduced it to the fan community. We were having a panel in San Diego Comic Con, and I had the Wolverine, the X-Force Wolverine in my pocket. That was the first Wolverine, and it was going to be the first time that anybody would see this 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe up front. So I remember, like, just having it in my pocket the whole time on the plane to Cali and everything, and I was nervous and everything because, like, honestly, not even nobody knew that I had took it and was going to show it. Like, no one
Wow.
knew. This wasn't like sanctioned by Hasbro to do.
I was gonna say, was PR pissed about that? I know how
Yeah.
Hasbro's PR is.
So this was like something that I took it, and we all took it, like, as this, we all kind of took this entrepreneurial spirit about this whole thing, and but we all wanted this to be a success too. And to make it a success, we had to kind of break some rules, break the normal of how things were being showcased and presented at the time. You know what I mean? Like, break that wall. And because we kind of knew early on that the fan community, this is how we connect. This is how we can do, like, this business to consumer strategy and make it a success. But we gotta engage with these guys. We really
Yes.
gotta. We have to engage with these guys, and not just on the consumer standpoint, but even from the editorial standpoint, from the marketing side, because a lot of these guys are also hosting, like, the websites, the forums, they're reviewing these, like YouTube just started to bubble, and guys were just starting to do YouTube reviews. So it was like this. It was now social media, and everyone doing, like, being influencers. We were like, man, these guys are doing it now, so we got to bridge this gap now.
Mm.
But again, we didn't think that what we were doing, how things are now. We didn't think of it then. We just knew we had to bridge the gap because these guys, we got to come out strong. We had to be unique and innovative, not just product, because that's just something that's just in the toy world. That's just something that's, like, said as often as Monday, innovation. But we had to be innovative with our approach. We had to be innovative with our thought, like how we engage with the fans. So I had this Wolverine in my pocket, and we were at the panel, and eventually, it's almost over. We're doing our Q&A, and then I pull it out and sit it right on the desk, right on the table, and people start freaking out. Like, the press started running up and taking pictures of it and everything, and holding it and stuff, and like, I think at that moment, even though the larger fan community was pissed off at Hasbro and did not like, what was coming down the pipe with 3 3/4 inch at that time and all that. But what happened was this was the breakthrough to gain trust to the fan community. To show them that we're just like you. You know what I mean? Like, we're pissed off at the stuff too. We want cool stuff too.
Yeah.
And these are the means by which we want to bring it to you, even if we have to sacrifice our own job to bring it to you. This is what we want to do. And that was the mentality that I think that we had. And then that really pushed. That was my mentality anyway, as far as, like, to the approach with Marvel Universe.
Mhm. Now, do you think the universe line obviously took off? We got a lot of waves, a lot of 2-packs, got a couple of deluxe figures out of that. I have almost all of them. I slept on the
Cool.
first wave. I'm not gonna lie. The first
Yep.
wave, when I saw them, I was like, I was used to my 6-inch Legends, and I was like, what is this?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I saw wave 2, and I'm like, okay, it's not
Yep.
bad. And then by, like, wave 3, I was in, and then I was going back trying to get some of the other figures. So there's
Right.
a couple on, like, wave 1 or 2 that I don't fully have. But from then on, I have everything until the end of the line.
Yeah.
uh, and I loved them. You know, I was a Joe fan. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I like the Black Series Star Wars stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
so much of a 3 3/4 inch Star Wars. Obviously, when I was younger, I was, but now you know I like the 6 inch stuff. But I was kind of disappointed to see that line end. But was that line help? Did it help improve, in your opinion? Did it help improve the 6 inch Legends once Hasbro was ready to rock and roll with them again?
Yeah, it did. It on a few fronts. I think number one, competition is always good, right? So with that, one can push the other. It's like steel sharpens steel. But also too, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, one of the appeals of Marvel Universe was, in my mind, I wanted to have as much variety as possible. Like I knew guys hated the 3 3/4 inch and wasn't going to be involved with it, and that was cool. But my thing was, how can I make it completely different to Marvel Universe and to Marvel Legends, because
Mm-hmm.
it was unfairly being judged. You know what I mean? So my thing was, make it give it the variety that Marvel Legends didn't have.
Yeah.
So give it the character selection that Marvel Legends didn't have, and also how those characters were done. So, like, if you remember, like, if you look at certain figures like Ultron,
Mm-hmm.
the 3 3/4 inch Ultron, it looks very similar to the 6 inch Ultron. And because what was happening was, I started working with Gentle Giant, and actually, if you hear some dings, I'm actually getting texts from Adam Van Wickler right now and Jesse Falcon right now. So if this is going out on your airways and people listening, or will be recorded, Jesse Falcon and Adam Van Wickler. Jesse Falcon's, of course, with Marvel. Adam Van Wickler's with Gentle Giant. They text me right now. They're going to have a Zoom cocktail party tonight. Yes, I'll be there.
Tell Jesse, come on, come on. I want to talk to him too. Tell
I
him.
will. I definitely will. I definitely will. But I was working with Gentle Giant, and we started doing things digitally and improving those sculpts digitally. And with those digital files, you can also transform into 6 inch. I mean, because basically, in the digital realm, there is no height. You know what I'm saying? It's like, with 3 3/4 inch, it's also 6 inch. So it could be 19 feet tall.
Yeah, once you have that digital, you just scale it up.
Exactly. So I mean, so that was also one thing, but I think that, we were all just inspired by each other, and once, I think, and also, it's very, very expensive to make an action figure. So once Marvel Universe started to gain steam and momentum, it also gained trust, and that trust opened up some dollars for to be going towards, like, Marvel Legends, so Marvel Legends can get better sculpts and, better, accessories and things like that. So, like, one product is helping another product in the overall larger assortment, and for demand too. Ironically, when Marvel Universe started to really get heat, I think one of the things that came out of that was guys really wanting those same characters in 6 inch.
Mm-hmm.
So the demand became more. You know what I mean? So they really voiced that, and I think that also helped push, the 6 inch, that fan demand, that fan fervor helped push it. So it was quite a few things that helped, that pushed Marvel Legends to be in the right way. And also too, like, Marvel Universe was never to be the Marvel Legends killer or anything like that. It was just a different vein of collecting Marvel characters. How you can build out your world a little bit faster in a unique way. Now things make sense. Even though Marvel Legends is super accurate and everything's in a nice larger scale, in 3 3/4 inch you have different heights. Now you can have your Sentinel with your X-Men figures, and now it looks like, wow, this looks like it's really from pages of the X-Men. Or you can have your
Mhm.
Galactus, or you can have, you know, a plethora of your guys, and it's like, wow, I could really build out the Marvel universe. It's such a
The
fast,
Frost Giants.
right?
Yeah, and like you said, with Ultron, some people know this, but some don't. Where a lot of the figures that we saw in the 3 3/4 inch, eventually we saw in the Legends, and people kind of people that I know, when we would see one, we would get souped because we knew there's a possibility we
New,
were going to see that in the 6 inch. We're like, all right, they got that here. Of course they're gonna, a few things
right,
might be changed to make it there, but you had that base there already.
right.
And that was really one thing that I liked about it, because you got the figures, that you got the variety of some figures that you may have never seen from Toy Biz or Hasbro as 6 inch Legends. Now you had them as a 3 3/4, and it gave hope that there would be a 6 inch. I really liked the comic 2 packs that you guys did. Those were,
Yeah,
like, I think it was Gambit and
yep,
Sinister, like
yep.
that.
I love that
Those
sentence.
I really like.
And
Yeah.
I love the two packs, man, because that started off as Secret Wars,
Mhm.
I was always a fan of the Wrecking Crew and always wanted the Wrecking Crew in 6 inch form. And I looked at that as a golden opportunity to introduce the Wrecking Crew into Marvel Universe action figures, man. So that was for me, that was what that was all about, with the introduction of the Wrecking Crew, and Ultron, and getting those guys, man, that you never thought that you would get. Now you get them.
Now you get
You
them.
know, so now it was like, it's funny, man, how you felt when you saw the Marvel Universe figures, and it was like, man, I know they're going to come out like with that in Legends. Like that was the kind of feeling that I wanted to create. And basically, it wasn't necessarily so much that, but there's that feeling of when you first walk into the comic book store and you see the comic books on the spinner rack, and you look at the comic book, the cover got you, you open it up, breeze through it, you read it, you get to the end, and it's a cliffhanger, and you're like, I can't wait for the next one. Like that whole feeling is what I wanted the whole Marvel universe to be like, with the Frank Cho art, you know what I mean, or whatever artist we want to use to capturing the artwork on there, with the look and feel of it, with the Nick Fury on the back, you know what I mean, with the numbers on it, all of them are numbered, so you can see the collection, like everything about that line was so you can experience the total comic book, purchasing experience, from the moment you walk to the shop, the moment you see it on the rack, the moment you pick it up, the moment you look through it, the moment you read it, turn the pages, you see that last page, it's a cliffhanger, and you can't wait to that next issue. That's everything that I wanted it to be.
I,
Everything.
I think you definitely accomplished that for a lot of people. I know for me it was, because every time I saw one reveal, I was like, all right, what's the next one? What's the next group of
Hmm.
characters? So before you had left Toy Biz, I mean, I'm sorry, Hasbro, what was one of the last figures that you worked on?
I think it was definitely around the Death's Head and also Glass Star. Those were like one of the last ones. The Death's Head 2 figure that I
Yeah,
did, and
uh,
Glass Star, and
that was the Guardians wave.
yeah,
Said, oh wait, no, that
yeah.
said now
Yeah, and also
three.
that Guardians of the Galaxy pack, the people with the little Groot in there. I was the first one to do a Groot, the first one to do a Rocket Raccoon. The first one to do a Puck. You know, um, yeah. See, that stuff was cool. I mean, I don't have singular favorite figures, but I love I have I have experiences, like favorite experiences, and being able to share, like, with the fans, like giving them like their first, because being a combo fan, having that first issue is like major. Making that first post on that forum is major. So having that first version of that character, whatever, to me is important. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's who would be able to provide that.
So you left Hasbro, and where did you go? Casual Fridays or Casual Friday?
Yeah. Yup. So
Cool.
me and my partner, my marketing partner, Scott George, he was actually my marketing partner on Marvel Universe at Hasbro, and we had started Casual Friday, and we had got the license for the Phantom and Flash Gordon, and we were doing also Rocky. We had got the
Rocky
Rocky
packs were dope.
license.
The Rocky 4 packs were dope.
Yeah, and we did like little guys, and it's funny because the Casual Friday was started, by us, and eventually some other guys that we were working alongside with to do stuff with Casual Friday, they started Boss Fight.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. So it was like, we were all like kind of like trying to figure out what we were all going to do. So we had started like Casual Friday, was doing that. We wanted to do like, at that Casual Friday was going to touch on everything pop culture, like replicas, t-shirts, toys, a little bit of everything. Um, but that was such a wild time for me personally, man, because I had just like gotten laid off at Hasbro, like that, like that's how that had happened, and my life was just like kind of turned upside down. So I was trying to figure out what was happening, and professionally, but personally, it was like my life was just in turmoil. You know what I mean? So and I just wasn't in the right mindset at that time
Now,
to
did you
be able.
did you see the layoff coming from Hasbro, considering like you were doing so well with the line and everything?
No, it was out of the blue. It was out of the blue. I mean, well, it was out of the blue, but it was something that we always knew was around. Like when layoff time, so like it's weird. It's like a season, like a period in time when it always happens, but you kind of feel it, but you don't really expect it.
Mm.
And so I never thought selfishly like I'm okay and cool like this. I'm working on this major toy line and on this major brand, and I'm safe, and I never even had that type of thought, and it was just we walk in and things are that day. It was just a weird day, and everyone was started being called into the office, and actually I was because I'm like a traveling email. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I hate sending out mass emails and people like back and forth. I'd rather go to your desk and talk to you one on one, and then like we come to a resolution or a solution, and boom, I've got it now. Let's generate the email. So I'm running around the office like around Hasbro doing what I do, and I'm quite sure. I think I was like trying to get something to eat too, like getting the fat off the land, like just run around. So by me running around, I really didn't know exactly what was going on that day.
Mm.
And then I heard that the layoffs were happening that day as I'm running around. So and then I had heard that my overall like the director of all boys, like the VP of toys had got laid off. So I was like, man. So then I'm starting seeing people walking out of the office carrying, crying and whimpering and whatnot. So I'm like, I guess the day is going down. So I eventually get back to my cube, and I saw that I had my light is flashing on my phone. So and then once I noticed that, that's when someone comes to my desk and like, hey, can you come to the office? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? So I'm just and like I really had no real like I knew it was happening, but I really didn't correlate anything. I didn't think that it was really happening. So I get into the office, and by this time, I'm like, oh, wow, like this is how it's going to happen. Like this is how I die. So we went in there, and they're running down the whole situation and the severance package, and you got to sign this and that. And I'm like, so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at, it was the HR lady and then the guy who runs like all boys stores. And they run through this whole spiel, and she's like all stoic, and she's kind of looking down and reading everything. She's got a box of tissue there, and he's sitting there looking straight like at this wall, like not looking at me, not looking at her, but just straight ahead. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, come on, y'all, we gotta break this. Like, are we seriously gonna do this way? Like, I'm cool. I'll sign this, man. You don't have to keep reading.
Hmm.
You're fine. You don't have to keep staring at a blank wall. You're cool. I'm sitting here. I'm human. Y'all can look at me. And then I was like, and you're gonna see me again anyway. It ain't like I'm, it ain't like I'm going anywhere. And
Yeah.
but like again, I had no clue what I was gonna be doing. But that was just me not being caught up in this negative moment. You know what I mean? But it was totally out of the blue. It was unexpected. And so then after that, that's when this petition has started. This petition to bring me back at Hasbro. So then it was like, which was very honorable and nice. It was a very nice gesture and everything, but it put me in a very weird position where everyone kind of knew what was going on with me personally, and I had to repeat over and over and over again. I got laid off. I got laid off, and I go through the story like, well, I just get laid off, and so it's like going through a
I
divorce,
didn't know. Now they knew.
right? But it's like going through a divorce. So you got to retell the story over and over and over again. But I think that because of what it is that we deal with, which is toys and dealing with pop culture and fanhood type of things. I think that sometimes people take the humanity out of that element out of the toy. You know what I mean? Like there's real people behind it. And a lot of people were hurt. A lot of people's lives has changed. Like
Yeah.
to this very day,
Yeah.
because of that, for the good and for the bad, and so that was just a strange period. And then after that, I had went down to jazz wares like after Casual Friday, and I was going through this whole weird thing. It was like, I just like I don't know, I'm at Casual Friday, and I'm like I'm one of those artists that's super sensitive to the environment around them. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
if the environment around me is not right, then I'm not right. So it was just like there was a lot that was going on, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just chilled out for a few months and everything. Then eventually, Jazzwares had called and offered me a position down in Florida. So now, mind you, now my career, even going back to art school, like I lived in Atlantic City, but I would catch the train to Philly to go to art school every day. So from Atlantic City to Philly by train every day,
Mhm.
and then I'm working in Manhattan, so I'm catching the bus to Manhattan every day. Now I'm actually flying down to Florida Mondays. Like I'm flying down there Sunday night, working the week, and then flying back Fridays. So I'm working down in Florida for the week and come back on the weekends. Like that. This was my life now, working in Florida, as I'm deciding whether I'm going to go there full time.
I don't know
And
if you can. I don't know if you can see the chat over here. Somebody else was doing the exact same thing with Jazzwares. You guys might have been down there at the same time. Was that when they were developing the? They were trying to get like a 3 3/4 inch Assassin's Creed figures going.
no, it was actually before that. They didn't have that. I was working on when I was there. I was working on Mortal Kombat. I was working on Hanna-Barbera, a lot of Nickelodeon stuff, Space Ghost, the Space Ghost figure that first came out, 6-inch Space Ghost. And but what happened down there, as I'm working there, like their Jazzwares was just a different environment for me. Coming from Hasbro, where certain things were a little bit more buttoned up and structured, or just handled differently.
Mm-hmm.
Jazzwares was completely, in a lot of ways, opposite of that. And it just wasn't a comfortable fit with how certain practices were being made, like just for me. And so I had to step away from that, after considering it and going back and forth, and a lot of other personal stuff that was happening. It was just like it just wasn't right. So, and then I wound up getting a divorce. So it was like Then all this was happening again. So my life was unraveling, you know. But actually, that was the divorce a little bit later. So, but it was also, but still around the same time. And then from there, that's when I come out to out here to California to work at Spin Master, and I worked at Spin Master working on How to Train Your Dragons Part Two.
Okay.
Right. So then that's when things. So now my commute history. Now I'm flying. Now I go from now I'm flying. I go from flying to Rhode Island to flying to Florida every week. Doing that. Now I fly to California and I'm working out there for months at a time, then flying back to Rhode Island. So I mean, man, it was very, very tough on my psyche. And I think after years and years and years of doing that, like it just caught up with me, like that was just a lot of just being stretched way too thin in such a short amount of time. You know what I'm saying? And and then eventually I wound up leaving Spin Master, but I had to really take some time off, man, to really just get myself together,
Mm.
get my mind together, and because I went through such these emotional roller coasters, and like just being an artist is emotion. You feed off of your emotions and everything, but then to go through all these outside emotions and
Personal
outside
life.
turbulences and everything in such a short amount of time. But the thing that always that was driving me was like, it's almost like in hip hop when they say like, for the culture. Like for me, this is really for the culture. It's really about the toy culture. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like doing stuff for the fans, for the consumers, for those who love this stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what drives me. That's what keeps me going. You know what I mean? And want me to be in it and be a part of it. And in some capacity, some kind of way. So after some time off, man, then eventually I wound up going to Mattel and working on where I'm currently at, working on WWE. So WWE is very different from the superheroes because this is real people. You know what I mean? Like real lives come into play. But the fandom is even more like just it's
In the
great.
comic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like people go deep. They have passions. For their favorite. Superstar or favorite period in time. Man, all that. So it's just as deep and it's
Now,
just as fun.
you get to work closely with some of the wrestlers.
Yeah, yeah. We work with them. We do digital scans of their head and everything like that, and to try to represent them the best way that we can. And to make it as authentic as possible. So and those guys are amazing. Those men and women, man, they're amazing. I mean, the things that they put their bodies through. I mean, they're super talented, super smart, man, but also super passionate. I mean, they love what they do. So with that passion, we try to also, put in the same amount of passion to detail and attention to detail to make it as authentic, and the best representation of themselves, that we
Because those,
possibly can.
like those fans, they love it.
Yeah.
They're I have a couple friends that are really into like the WWE and the wrestling, and the same way that I would go hunting for legends. They know when the
Oh
WWE
yeah.
stuff. They're like, yo,
Oh
this
yeah.
line came out, this exclusive is here, this one's there. If you see this, pick it up. I'm like, look, I have no idea who they are, but you send me a picture and I know who it is.
Yep.
I'll get it for you.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I know that that's a huge market. Now, do you think that with what's going on now and with like WWE laying off, um, they laid off I think about like 50 different wrestlers. Or I don't know if you can answer that, but do you think that that's going to impact any projects that you guys were working on?
Yeah, I mean it does, because and that's the unique thing about WWE, that we do have to adjust. You have a situation like this, but also if they're injured or if other life is coming to play that somehow prevents them from being on TV regularly, then we have to adjust, and that's just how the brand is, it's very organic like that. Like, some guys can have a lot of momentum, one week and then have none, the next. So, but with this change, it does, cause us to be able to adjust but fortunately enough, we're so used to that it's part of the norm. Because I mean, Wolverine doesn't get injured.
Um, can right now with everything going on, have you seen? You're still working from home right now.
Yeah, we're all working, and WWE hasn't stopped, so we're still working. We're still bringing, our product to the fans. We're still working on it. We're still hard at work, so we don't miss a beat.
Okay. Has any of the wrestlers ever challenged you to like a SmackDown or something like that? Just joking around, like, "Hey, come on, come down here and let's roll around,
I mean,
give
no,
honor in the gym
it's
there."
funny. Like, it's funny. Like, I wanted a chop from Zack Ryder, but he wouldn't chop me. But he but he chopped my man Bill McKinnon. But nah, they're usually cool and fun, man. They usually they're pretty cool guys, and we deal with them to an extent,
I
So
tried to get Zack Ryder to jump on here. Somebody I know is good friends with him, so I was like, "Yo, tell Zack Ryder to jump on this call," but I don't think he's available.
yeah,
um,
Zach's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. He's a good guy.
he seems very down to earth.
Yeah, he is, man. He is. He is. Did karaoke with him. He's a good singer.
Yeah. So you were also on the Toys That Made Us.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
They reached out to me. They reached out to me. Based on my history with Marvel, and they just asked me to talk about one thing, and then that led to another thing, and they were like, "Hey, mind talking a little bit more?" So yeah, it was really cool. It's really cool experience. It's really fun to be a part of that, like something of that magnitude. The kind of like the first of that kind, but also, man, to share experiences of my childhood. Because I grew up, man. It was like, even though I'm the only child, man, it was like a crew of us, like, 5, 6 of us, and one of the things that we actually used to do is make comic books in my kitchen. I would draw it, one guy would letter it, another guy would try to color it, another guy would, staple it together and everything. And, we would watch movies together, like Transformers the movie, and collect comic books and watch cartoons and stuff like that. So it was, for me, since I wish my boys were here, but they're not. So that was an opportunity for me to bring them along, and so to share those experiences, man, of my childhood. But it wasn't just me alone; it was them too,
Everybody that you grew up with.
Yeah, and they allowed me to be here today, with their protection, and their guidance and their friendship, just even though they're not here, it's like, they live through me, so I try to bring them along and represent them anywhere I can by not forgetting them.
I'm trying to think. I mean, you touched on a lot. You've touched on a lot. You've touched on a lot more than I thought we were going to touch on.
I like to talk.
I really do appreciate you taking the time to kick it with us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is so dope, man. Super dope, man. Especially during this time, man. We all need to, like, share these stories, man. Share these stories, man. And
like,
so we realize that we have more in common than what we really think.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, so sometimes people just need to know that there's other people that went through similar situations or are going through them, and you're a prime example. Like who. Actually, here, what would you, if you could tell 10-year-old you, right? The 10-year-old you growing up in Atlantic City, because you said you moved to Pleasantville around like your teens, right?
Hmm.
What would you tell 10-year-old you right now?
Wow, man. I think I would tell, it's funny because I think 10-year-old me right now, and this is the straight up truth. I'm gonna tell you. I think 10-year-old me will be in the house because I would probably be playing hooky from school because I was being bullied so much that I didn't want to go to school.
Really?
So I probably will be home, playing hooky from school. And I think I would tell myself, man, that it's going to be all right. Be patient. I had a really bad temper as a kid too. So just be patient. And everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. And it was those times when I was bullied and being at home. That's when I would read my comic books and draw and stuff like that. So, I would tell myself to keep pushing, but be patient. And keep that love in your heart.
I respect that. Definitely respect that.
Hmm.
Well, again, I'm happy that you took the time to sit and talk with us. I'm
Yeah,
sure
man. Thank
your
you.
wife is probably like, "Come over here. I need you to make me some soup or and some tea, make me feel better." Uh, while everything's going on, just hope you guys stay safe out there. Hopefully, all this will be over sooner than later.
Yep.
Um, everybody
Same
just
here,
gotta
brother. Same here.
keep their heads up, and I don't know. Thank you very much, man. Like just a lot to take in. I learned a lot about you, and this was just a good time.
Cool,
Um,
man. Thank you so much. Yo, this is super fun, man. Anytime too.
and hopefully we'll be able to kick it again in the future, and maybe see you at some of the cons. I know you don't come out to New York too much for the conventions anymore, right?
Nah. But it's funny. I just did something. WonderCon is gonna have a virtual like WonderCon
Okay.
going on, and I just did a virtual panel for that. So stay tuned for that. The news for that should be rolling around pretty soon.
Is there anything else that you want the fans to keep an eye out for? Any projects that you could talk about or anything?
Just keep buying those WWE figures, man. We love you guys. Just keep supporting the line. And have fun. Keep collecting.
And thank you very much, Dave. Tell Jesse if he wants to chat for a little while. Tell him get at me.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll do.
and you be safe. I'll talk to you
Cool,
soon.
man. You
All right,
too.
brother.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, brother.